I'm going to tell you a story about how a kid who started out posting Fortnite clips ended up soundtracking millions of late night scrolls, building a whole mythos around a red bow tie and breakup ballads, and then walking straight into one of the strangest, messiest storms the internet has conjured in years. It's a story about the music, the fandom, the brand, and the rumor mill, about how the timeline can crown you and cancel you, with the same tap told with a little gallows humor because, frankly, it's the internet and we need it. But first, let's get one thing crystal clear. Anything you hear in this video that isn't linked to an interview, a platform post, or a report is exactly that. Unconfirmed, rumor, speculation, or someone's galaxy brain theory typed at 2 a.m. with the caps lock key looking like it just ran a marathon. We'll mark those moments for what they are as we go. Cool? Cool. Let's rewind to the beginning. Before the album drops and arena tours, the story starts with a kid in Houston who wanted music for his Fortnite montages. Copyright trolls kept striking the videos, and his mom, shout out to moms who invent careers while you're just trying to upload, basically said, "Why don't you make your own songs?" So he did, not in a fancy studio, not with a rack of gear. He recorded in his sister's closet and used BandLab on his phone like it was $1 million mixing desk. No gatekeeping, just vibes, stubbornness, and enough reverb to baptize a city block. That origin is documented in interviews and profiles because, yes, we all love an underdog story that starts in a closet and ends on the Billboard charts. GQ. The username is D4vd, David without the vowels, with a 4 in the middle, like a gamer tag that accidentally became a stage name because nobody stopped to say, is this permanent? He didn't just make a couple songs, he made the kind of diary entries you can hum. Romantic Homicide sounded like a confession whispered into a pillow at 3 a.m. It slid onto playlists next to artists with 10 times the budget and then leapfrogged its way to the Hot 100 labels called. He signed with Darkroom/Interscope. He went from closet takes to festival spots so fast the smoke alarm probably filed a complaint. The mythos began, the blindfolded alter ego, the themes of dreams and illusions, petals and thorns, soft power and sharp edges. It wasn't just music, it was a whole character arc, the kind the internet can cosplay. GQ. Social media caught fire because the internet loves a clean narrative that the DIY kid makes something heartbreakingly good. Posts it and boom, numbers. His YouTube presence swelled. The shorts fed the algorithm like a never-ending conveyor belt of melancholy candy. New visuals, tour teasers, and the occasional Fortnite adjacent moment reminded everyone where he started. If you wanted the canon materials, you went to the official YouTube and Instagram. If you wanted the ad-libs, you hit X, formerly Twitter, where he posted in a very "I am online like the rest of you" voice, hyping drops and replying to fans. YouTube. Musically, what set him apart wasn't the biggest voice or the flashiest production, but the feeling, the hush at the center of a song that makes you lean in and give your full attention, because you don't want to miss the line where your entire romantic history gets subtweeted. Interviews framed him as a poet-observer type, quiet songcraft with sting, and he kept the DIY energy alive, even when the rooms got bigger, talking about writing on the phone and treating the mic like a confession booth. It's accessible, it's also cheap, and it worked. GQ. Then came the brand building. On Instagram, the image sharpened, the red bow tie, the gothic romantic palette, the "I'm tragic but the lighting is phenomenal" energy. You can scroll through tour posts, album notes, and a steady rhythm of "I love y'all" captions that keep the parasocial flame burning like a Yankee candle called Devotion, Citrus Musk. It's cheerful, curated, and sometimes tongue-in-cheek. Fitness jokes, tour behind the scenes, and that classic pop humility. Can't believe this is my life. Meanwhile, on X, he'd drop in with a chaotic one-liner, a tour link, or a snippet announcement. because the number one rule of being a modern artist is never let the timeline forget you exist. Instagram, okay, pause. That's the climb, the glow up, the prom king but sad vibe. Now let's address the storm, and we're going to handle this carefully because this part involves an ongoing investigation in the real world, not just Stan Wars. In early September 2025, police discovered the remains of a teenage girl, Celeste Rivas, in the trunk of a Tesla that had been ticketed, towed, and ended up in an impound lot. That car was registered to D4vd previously, abandoned according to reports. The Los Angeles authorities have been investigating the circumstances of Celeste's death and how her body ended up there. As of the latest reporting at the time of this script, the police have not named D4vd a suspect, and he is, through counsel, cooperating with the investigation. These are sensitive facts. That's the guardrail we are staying inside. Anything beyond those verified details is speculation. New York Post. Of course, because it's the internet, speculation erupted immediately and then mutated like it had a gym membership. People stitched videos, posted theory threads, and began drawing red yarn lines between his lyrics, his fashion choices, and the flight paths of carrier pigeons. Some conspiracies went full sci-fi, claims about industry rituals, kidney heists, and backroom deals that would make Dan Brown say, "Tone it down." Major outlets covered how baseless a lot of this was, while also acknowledging the gravity of the tragedy and the legitimate questions investigators are working to answer. Again, to be responsible here, those viral conspiracy claims are unverified and widely criticized as nonsense. The only confirmed facts are what police and credible reports have shared. The rest lives in the rumor graveyard until investigators say otherwise. India Times. So where does that leave the artist, the music, and the fans in the middle of a storm? It leaves them doing what the internet always does, splitting into camps. Some fans say, wait for facts. Others say, I can't listen the same way. And a loud subset demand answers yesterday, delivered on a notes app with a carefully chosen font. Meanwhile, the legal team, apparently a high-powered one, the kind you hire when every microphone in town is pointed at you, is handling statements. If you're keeping score at home, step one in any high visibility crisis is stop posting and call a lawyer. That seems to be the playbook here. New York Post. But the music didn't materialize out of nowhere, and it won't disappear overnight. Part of the reason D4vd resonated so widely is the blend of intimacy and world building, a persona that can stand in a shuttered hallway in your brain and tell you what you're feeling before you admit it to yourself. Interviews spotlighted how that voice was forged in low-tech conditions that forced focus. You can still hear the closet in some of the recordings, and I mean that as a compliment. It's the acoustic equivalent of a diary margin. The rollout strategy leaned on platforms he controls, YouTube uploads, Instagram drops, X announcements, so he could keep the story straight, at least on the things that are actually his: songs, visuals, tour dates, songwriter universe. Let's talk about the dark, twisted fantasy part of this documentary's title. Yes, it echoes another famous album, but here it's about the tension between the dream and the nightmare. The fantasy of creative ascension versus the darkness that arrives when the parasocial machine decides you owe it more than music. The fantasy is the glow of a phone screen at midnight, a new single like a handwritten note, comments that read, "This saved me." The darkness is when every silence morphs into guilt in a thread, when every lyric becomes a clue, when strangers print merch that says, "I solved the case," like this is an escape room instead of real life. If you're an artist raised on platforms, you learn to serve the feed without letting it eat you. That's the trick. That's the twisted part. Humor break because we need one. The emotional palette of a D4vd chorus is basically romantic, melancholic, and I would text you but iOS turned on screen time. His brand archetype is soft boy who knows his way around a metaphor and a thrift store. The red bow tie is both cute and a warning label. This man is about to write a song that reminds you of your 9th grade crush who borrowed your hoodie and never returned it. You're not over it, it's fine. Nobody is. Also, the closest thing he has to a superpower is making a TikTok sound that turns the comments into a group therapy session. That is not in the DSM, but maybe it should be. What keeps people hooked is the omni-channel feed of the persona. On YouTube, official videos and shorts keep the algorithm buzzing, including a very on-brand crossover with Fortnite. Life is a circle, and sometimes it doesn't emote. On Instagram, the album era rolls out like a mood board with an itinerary. On X, it's the casual lowercase presence of a guy who will randomly yell "Cook-a-call-karaoke" at a fan's post and then vanish back into the studio. Is human a bit chaotic and just curated enough to keep the mystique intact? YouTube. Let's zoom in on the music career beats, the ones not wrapped in controversy but in accomplishment. Multiple interviews highlight the leap from bedroom recording to a global stage, plus the creative through line of balancing indie textures with pop hooks. That BandLab to Billboard pipeline became a talking point for 2023 and 2024 because it made the music industry look like anybody could walk in wearing slippers and leave with a plaque. It's inspirational until 10 million kids try it and realize the hard part isn't the app. It's having something to say. He found a way to write like a novelist with a 2-minute attention span. As the fan base grew, so did the touring footprint, and the posts got bigger, the captions got more "we did it," and the stage production started to echo the myth. Cinematic shadows, romantic hues, and the sense that he's narrating your life while a wind machine tries to steal the show. There's something almost theater kid about the way the performance leans into character without losing sincerity. He'll pose like an oil painting, then crack a joke in the next clip. That duality is why the fandom feels comfortable memeing him 1 minute and crying to him the next. Instagram. Now, about the present. When a terrible real-world event intersects with an artist's brand, the internet tries to compress the whole thing into a single sentence. Is he guilty or innocent? We're not doing that here. We don't have the facts investigators have. We're not adjudicating anything. What we can do is outline what's on record. There's an ongoing police investigation into the tragic death of Celeste Rivas. Her remains were found in a car previously associated with the artist. He has not been named a suspect. He has lawyered up and is said to be cooperating. Full stop. Everything else, the theories, the claimed DMs, the stitched edits that draw arrows between lyric snippets and live stream blips, falls into the unconfirmed folder unless and until law enforcement confirms it. Treat it accordingly. New York Post. Let's also be honest about the platform dynamics driving the rumor economy. Posts that say, "we don't know yet," get 5 likes and a sympathy yawn. Posts that say, "secret ritual exposed," get 2.3 million views and a podcast spinoff. So creators choose chaos, maybe not maliciously, but structurally. Conspiracy is a content format now. Meanwhile, trauma is the algorithm's favorite seasoning. When we talk about dark twisted fantasy in 2025, we're also talking about this. The fantasy that the feed cares about truth, the twist that it's addicted to drama, and the darkness of a tragedy pulled apart for views. What about the music going forward? In the interview circuit, he's been painted as restless and try-everything oriented, which suggests the next era could zig when we expect a zag. It might be heavier, lighter, weirder, or a return to basics. Remember, the origin story is experimentation in a closet. The through line will probably remain personal lyrics, clear hooks, and the aesthetic that turns the stage into a dream sequence. If, and it's a big if, the legal cloud lifts with no criminal implications for him, the conversation will swing back to the art. If not, history tells us the catalog will be litigated in group chats for a long time. For now, the only honest position is the patient one. Sniffers.co.nz. You could also frame the arc as a cautionary tale about scale. When 5 million strangers think they know you, silence is loud, metaphors are evidence, and a tour selfie becomes a subpoena in the court of public opinion. Artists today have to be part singer, part showrunner, part crisis manager. That's not a job, that's 3 jobs in a trench coat. The healthier way to be a fan, if you want my opinion, is to celebrate what's on the record. Songs, visuals, the documented process, and keep a respectful distance from anything that lives behind the police tape, metaphorical or literal. Now, I promised a humor that doesn't punch down, so here are 3 harmless jokes to carry in your pocket like souvenir pins. First, somewhere in Houston there's a closet that deserves a platinum plaque if the Recording Academy doesn't do a Best Sisters Wardrobe acoustic category soon. We riot politely. Kudaman magazine. Second, if you ever doubt your life choices, remember a hit single was recorded on a phone, which means your lunch break voice memos are technically a studio session. Congratulations, you're an artist. Go drop your microwave hums in D minor EP by Friday. Songwriter universe. Third, the bow tie has more lore than a Marvel MacGuffin. I'm half expecting an origin story short film where the tie narrates the relationship drama from the perspective of a very stressed accessory. He was crying on stage, I was trying to keep my knot together. Cinema. Back to the serious. A young life has been lost in circumstances that are heartbreaking, and the family at the center deserves respect. The internet's attention span is not an excuse to treat tragedy like content. If you watch this video and take anything away, let it be this. Hold room in your brain for both things to be true, that an artist's work can be meaningful and that a police investigation deserves patience, privacy, and facts. We can be grown-ups about this. It's not as fun, but it's better. So where do we land? We land in an uncomfortable in-between. The fantasy was that fame could be clean. The twist is that it never is, and the darkness is what happens when the line between art and evidence gets blurred by people who have never met either. If you're a fan, keep the empathy. If you're a critic, keep the receipts. If you're a creator covering this, keep the disclaimers. Everybody else, keep your conspiracies in your drafts and your compassion in your comments.